After a failed attempt at rebellion, most of the players who'd left the dorms got killed, leaving just one survivor. Gyeong-seok player 2461 guard, in an unusual move, spared his life after scanning his chip, and realizing he was marked as an eliminated player while they were hauling off the bodies. Another guard quietly tagged one corpse as useful, hinting there were still organs they could harvest. He even volunteered to help out in the operating room, trying to earn some brownie points with his bosses. Meanwhile, back in the dorms, the players were shocked when one of the coffins brought in by the guards suddenly revealed Gi-hun still alive. Hyunju checked his pulse, giving the group a tiny glimmer of hope. At the same time, a team of detectives was scouring the seas for the island from a ship. Their captain shrugged off the alarm about strange noises and missing people, blaming it on one of the agents being supposedly drunk, but another detective found the whole thing suspicious, the missing person. The drone operator was still nowhere to be found, even though they figured he might have fallen overboard. They decided to keep searching. Gi-hun eventually woke up all disoriented, and when he learned how many had died, he was crushed later. The guards announced to the players that only 60 contestants remained, and the prize money had jumped up to 39.6 billion. One Gi-hun, frustrated, confronted the gods, demanding to know why they'd let him live in a weird moment. He stepped right in front of one of their guns, begging the guard to shoot him, but his fellow players pulled him back. Meanwhile, up in his office, In-ho, the guy running the whole operation, got a call from the captain of the ship. He ordered him to stall the detectives until the games were over. Later on, they held another vote to decide if the game should keep going. This time, they were voting in reverse order. Gi-hun player 456 was supposed to go first, but he didn't cast a vote at all, so his turn got skipped, even so the process kept rolling. With the rest of the players after that, a group led by player 100 started accusing Gi-hun of rigging everything to get rid of the others. Not long after, Seon-yo player 44 got up in his face and threw some harsh words his way, blaming him for all the deaths. Gi-hun, all worked up, tried to attack her, but the others held him back over in the operating room. The god who saved Gyeong-seok pretended to go along with the illegal organ harvesting, but then she ripped off her mask, revealing who she really was, and shocked everyone by opening fire on the people there. After shooting the guys involved, she faced off with her superior and confessed the real reason she'd escaped from the north. She'd been trying to find him. She told him he reminded her a lot of her old commander, the same man she'd ended up shooting too. After a short laugh from the man, Noel shot him right in the forehead, ending his life on the spot. Then she ordered the remaining doctor to try and save Seok, who was badly injured. Back in the dorms during mealtime, the players were arguing about who was really to blame for the recent deaths. Everyone seemed to agree that player 388 Daeho was responsible, since he'd been sent to get more ammo and never came back, leaving the group totally defenseless. Meanwhile on the ship, detectives Jun-ho and Woo-seok kept digging into the mysterious disappearance of the drone operator. Woo was suspicious of the captain, remembering he'd seen him wandering around with a screwdriver in the middle of the night. Even though Jun-ho defended the captain, saying the guy was solid and had even saved his life once, Woo couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. In the end, he decided to stay behind off the boat to investigate on his own because his talk with Jun-ho had left him rattled over on the island. The next game kicked off. The players were escorted out of the dorms, and as they moved down a hallway, they stumbled on the bodies of their fallen teammates, hanging up like some twisted decoration. A voice warned them that would be the fate of anyone who dared go against the progress of the game for this round. The players had to pull a colored ball from a machine to find out which team they'd be on. Red or blue, the red team's job was to kill the blue team using knives. Meanwhile, the blue team would get chains and keys they could use to unlock rooms and hide, but once a door was opened, it couldn't be shut again. The whole setup sparked instant outrage. Some players shouted and protested how brutal the game was, while others were freaking out at the thought of being split up from the people they cared about. A mother, Gumja, got separated from her son, Young-suk, sparking huge tension between them both at the same time. No-ul stepped up to donate blood to save Young-suk, who was on the brink of death from massive blood loss. As the game kept going, a bunch of players started switching teams to avoid having to kill anyone. Namgyu, who'd been assigned to the red team, tried to team up with Myunggi, praising him for having killed Thanos. Meanwhile, Myunggi was busy trying to talk Junhee into changing sides, promising he'd protect her and her baby. If she didn't want to kill Daeho, ended up facing off with Gi-hun, who stared at him. With resentment, Daeho accused Gi-hun of blaming him for the past deaths, but insisted he wasn't at fault, he just failed to make it back in time. Young-sik traded places with his mom to protect her, begging her to hide well until everything was over. Junhee, who was pregnant, started feeling pain and struggling to walk. Jim-ha stepped in to help her, deciding to stick by her side. Hyunju joined them, too determined to keep them both safe in the end. Gi-hun made up his mind he was going to face Namgyu in the game no matter what it cost him. The tension between them was through the roof, and a showdown was clearly about to go down. The doctor told No-ul that Seok was finally stable, even though the man, terrified, begged her not to kill him. She wasted no time and took him out anyway, but the second she noticed Seok starting to stir and wake up, something shifted in her face. She leaned in close and whispered that she'd help him get out alive. Her coldness turned into a different kind of resolve. Saving him had suddenly become part of her mission. Meanwhile, out in the hallways, the red team was starting their hunt. Armed and laser-focused, they pushed forward, determined to track down and wipe out the blue team, sticking to the game's brutal rules. Somewhere else in the building, Hyunju tried unlocking a door with her key but found it didn't fit. She asked Junhee for hers, but that one didn't work either. That's when they realized that if they combined all 3 keys, including Jim Ha's, they could form one big key ring, able to open any door. They agreed Hyunju should carry all the keys so the group could move faster and escape if they needed to. Meanwhile, Gi-hun was moving solo dead set on finding Dae-ho in one of the hallways. He managed to corner a blue team player, but when he saw it wasn't the guy he was looking for, he let him go. Then, looking into a room, Gi-hun spotted Dae-ho lurking in the shadows in that moment. His mind was made up. He wasn't going to stop until he faced him elsewhere. Myunggi and Namgyu had tracked down player 235. Just as Namgyu was about to kill him, Myunggi suggested they do it together, that way both of them could move ahead in the game. At the same time, the guy agreed, and in perfect sync, they took player 235 out. That brutal teamwork quickly became their go-to tactic. Not long after, Hyunju, Junhee, and Gumja were spotted by someone from the red team. Without hesitating, they took off running while trying to escape. They had to race up a set of stairs, but Junhee slipped and twisted her ankle, collapsing to the floor and unable to move. Gumja rushed back for her, and Hyunju didn't even think twice before stepping up to fight off the attacker chasing them. After a fast but fierce fight, she managed to take him down. Myunggi and Namgyu pulled the same deadly move on another victim. Securing their place further in the game, their cold-blooded precision was making them more dangerous by the minute. Meanwhile, the 3 women managed to hide in a room there. They checked how bad Junhee's injury was. Her ankle was completely shattered. With a trembling voice, she begged them to leave her behind, insisting she only slow them down. But both women flat out refused. The bond they shared was stronger than any selfish survival plan. That's when Junhee started showing signs of going into labor amid the pain, tension, and sheer panic. She ended up giving birth right there in the room. The baby's arrival in the middle of all that violence and chaos was as miraculous as it was heartbreaking. The brief calm was shattered when a player from the red team found them, Hyunju. Once again didn't hesitate and stepped up to face him. In another fierce fight, she managed to kill him, protecting the new mother and her newborn baby. But her courage came at a brutal price. Just as she made it back to her friends, Hyunju was stabbed from behind. The attacker was Myunggi, who'd been secretly watching them. But after seeing that Junhee had already given birth, he suddenly felt like he'd been doing the wrong thing and just walked away, leaving the 3 women behind without bothering to finish them off. In his eyes, his mission was done. The 2 remaining women wept bitterly over the loss of their friend. Meanwhile, Gi-hun finally managed to corner Dae-ho just like he'd been determined to do. Seething with bottled-up rage and desperate for justice, he lunged at him. He pinned him down and in a merciless act strangled him to death. With that, Gi-hun closed the chapter on his personal quest for vengeance. On the other side of the building, Geumja and Junhee, carrying the baby, made it out of the room. They moved cautiously, but as they passed through a doorway, they were suddenly confronted by Young-sik Geumja-sun, shaken with a vacant stare and trembling hands. Young-sik confessed to his mother that he had to kill her. If he didn't, he'd end up dying instead. Geumja, shattered inside, tried to talk sense into him, but the weight of the game and the threat hanging over his life were too much. In a desperate and heartbreaking moment, she stabbed him before he could make a move. Young-sik collapsed to the ground, shocked and wounded, unable to fully grasp what had just happened. His mother fell to her knees, sobbing, uncontrollably devastated by the fact that she'd hurt her own son. The god, seeing that Young-sik was still breathing but gravely injured, stepped in right away without a shred of compassion. They shot him to put him out of his misery and officially eliminate him from the game. Geumja, frozen in place, remained on the floor while Junhee clutched her baby tightly. Exhaustion, horror, and utter despair were written all over their faces. They were no longer just fighting to survive a twisted game. They were battling the emotional wreckage of every choice they'd been forced to make. And with that, episode 2 comes to an end. If you want to see the upcoming episodes, make sure to let me know in the comments. Your support means a lot to me.